All right, so today I'm joined by Andrew Campos, coming off a big submission win. He's an amateur fighter currently, 5-1, and his last win was a triangle, first round submission, 45 seconds into the fight, after he dropped the guy, I think, with some nice handiwork. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing good, bro. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Just to preface this for all the fans too, I guess you're the guy who blew up for saying he's off the weed and off the porn, which we'll get into. But to start it off, where are you from exactly? I know you're training in AKA right now, but are you always from Cali or are you from somewhere else?
No, yeah, I'm pretty much born and raised. So, grew up here in San Jose like my whole life. So yeah, pretty much from here. Yeah, lived here my whole life. Haven't really left. So yeah.
Okay. And what was it like growing up in San Jose, I guess? Have you had like a normal childhood? What was your childhood like?
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. I grew up in a good family. Like I never really yeah, I played sports. Like nothing too crazy. Just pretty like a normal life. Like I went to Logan Elementary, middle school, high school. So it was cool. I just played sports, pretty active, had friends. I like to be outside a lot. So yeah, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
Okay. What sports did you play?
I was big into, I played all of them, but I was really big into basketball. Like basketball was like the main thing. Like I like my dream when I was younger was to play on the Golden State Warriors, bro. Like that was my dream. Like I wanted to be a Golden State Warrior. But then like as you get older, you start realizing that like I was like, man, I'm not tall. A lot of kids when I got into middle school, they were already had hit puberty and they were like super tall and like stronger. So I was like, that dream kind of went away, and I was like, I was pretty small, so I was like, yeah. So that dream kind of died out. But yeah.
Okay. And then where'd you put your time into after that dream died out, I guess?
I started watching MMA. So I was into WWE just like any other kid growing up. So I was like watching
Yeah,
that.
me
But it
too.
was like, yeah, that was big. That was cool. But like sixth, seventh grade, I started watching MMA. So that's kind of when I started making that transition. And I was like, okay. And I started kickboxing when I was in eighth grade. I was like 12, 13. Like eighth grade, I started kickboxing. So that was like after I stopped playing basketball, like sixth, seventh grade. Like eighth grade, I started kickboxing, and that's when, yeah, I pretty much had like dreams of being a fighter.
Okay, so and it was from the WWE, or did you like start WWE, then you started watching UFC, which made you start kickboxing?
It was from the UFC, which made me start kickboxing. Yeah, like WWE was
Okay.
cool, but I always knew it was kind of fake. Like, yeah, I always kind of knew it wasn't real. So like the UFC kind of like it had my attention more for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of kids once we like get over the WWE, the natural progression's the UFC because it's like the real deal.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly how it was for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you like when you were younger and shit? Were you ever copying the moves and stuff from WWE, like doing frog splashes and shit like
Oh
that?
yeah, all the
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
bro. All
same
the
here.
time. I was jumping off the sofas and everything. My mom would have to tell me to like calm down. Like, yeah, that was
Yeah.
crazy.
When I would like stay in a
Th-
hotel and shit, I remember I used to there's like a special move where the guy like put the ladder under his butt or something and then he like jumped on the guy. Remember that move?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember what it's
used to do
called, but I
that
know what
one
you're talking
like
about.
I
Yeah,
used to like jump from the hotel bed onto the other one and shit.
yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So when you started getting into kickboxing and stuff like that, did you kind of have a natural liking to it? Were you pretty talented or did you get beat
Oh
up at
yeah.
all at first?
No, oh yeah. So like I before I even went to my first kickboxing gym, I remember like I was like crazy. Like I had already been watching videos on YouTube on like how to like fight and like how to throw a jab cross hook. So by the time I got to the kickboxing gym, I already had like a jab down. I already like knew hands up, chin down. Like I already had like I mean I probably wasn't good. I probably would have gotten smacked in a fight, obviously, but like in my mind I was like, oh, I already know like my basics. I knew not to cross my feet, stuff like that, just because I'd like binge watching like tons of videos before I even stepped into the gym. And I was already like hitting push-ups. I was already doing like core workouts when I was like sixth, seventh grade. And I was like, well, I want to be a fighter one day. So like, yeah, I was like crazy, but yeah,
That's
yeah.
dope. And how old are you now?
I'm 24. I turned 24 in October.
24.
So yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so maybe around like probably 11 or so is when you started being interested, it sounds like.
Yeah, like 11 or 12. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 11 or 12, like seventh grade, like
Okay, and
sixth,
then what
seventh
did your
grade.
parents think? Because I remember like when I started telling my parents I liked MMA and stuff, they're like, yeah, but you're not gonna be doing that. So did your parents like were they down to put you in there because you had a lot of energy and stuff, or how did that go?
They kind of, I mean, they wanted me to like do other sports. They're like, oh, why not other sports? There's like football or soccer, but I was like I wasn't interested in any of those. They were just kind of team sports. But like I felt like fighting is something like it's something like anybody could do. Because like in basketball, like I said, you got to have like certain like height. You got to be tall. You got to and you can't control that. But what you can control is like a fight and like you could fight anybody like your size. So I kind of knew that. So I was like, that's kind of why I wanted to get into fighting more. But they wanted me to do other sports, and they wanted me to do good at school and stuff, and like stuff like that. Just like any other parent, they don't want to see their kid get hurt, But like, yeah, I really like fighting though. So they kind of just like went along with it. Yeah.
Did it take any convincing? Did you have to be like, no, like I really
Oh
want to
yeah.
do this. Like, can you help me pay for it or something? Or
Oh yeah, big bro. I
yeah.
would cry, bro. I was crying because like my parents didn't have a lot of money. Like, we didn't have a lot, like, ton of money growing up. So like, bro, I would be like crying because I couldn't train, bro. I'd be like, damn, like it sucks. Like I want to be a fighter one day, but I can't even train because like it was just hard. And growing up in San Jose, like it started getting expensive. Like when I was growing up, like started getting really fucking expensive. So like my parents didn't always have money to pay for my training, but I would be like crying, bro. That's why I'd be watching videos. I'd be like learning dude. I would practice on. I had like a doll. I don't know what it was. I had like a doll though, and I'd be practicing like triangles and shit, like on my doll.
Yeah,
It was like
is it like that fair text?
nah. I'm talking about like it was like I had like a stuff. I don't know who gave it to me. It just like appeared in my house, but it was like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, like a fucking like
Okay.
I don't know what it was, but I would be practicing triangles and shit on it. So that was crazy. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you just had an interest, and then it just kind of evolved. You were like persistent with it, and got them to kind of sign you up.
Very persistent. Yeah, very persistent. Yeah.
Yeah, even for me, like after I graduated high school, there was a jiu-jitsu gym next to my house, and it was like $100 a month. And I had to split it with my mom. I had to like pay $50, and she would pay $50. But it's because other than that, she wouldn't have like she wouldn't have paid for it full price. So I could relate to that for sure.
Oh yeah, and like eventually they were able to. So yeah, we did find that kickboxing gym. I think it was like $70 or $80 a month. So they were able to do that. So I was there for like a good year. It was at a Taekwondo's studio, but they had like adult, like teen adult kickboxing, but it was like a Taekwondo studio. So, but I knew like I needed to be like in an MMA gym. So eventually I left that gym and I went to other places, but that's where I started. Yeah. It was like a Taekwondo studio. We had like kickboxing classes. Yeah.
And what was like your progression into it? Like, how do I put it? Like how seriously did you start kind of taking it after a while? Like within the first few months, were you sparring and stuff like that, or like that kind of whole thing?
The sparring, I don't even think they did sparring. They did like Taekwondo sparring there, but for like the kickboxing, it was like it was more like a cardio kickboxing, I guess. Like we did a couple partner drills, but it wasn't like no full contact sparring. Like I don't think I sparred until like my gym after that I went to. It was a gym called IMA where I met Alan Stevens. There we kind of did more like contact sparring. That was like when I was like 14, I believe. It was like it was like a year later. So I stayed a year contract at that little Taekwondo place, and I didn't like actually spar until like a year after that. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So the first place was like just like probably drills on the bag and stuff, or like partner drills.
Yep. The partners.
And how did you like
each other?
Yeah, I got you. How did you like the sparring when you first got into it and stuff? Was it like a lot of fun for you? Because I feel like people with a lot of energy, they love that shit,
Yeah, no, it was dope, bro.
Yeah.
It was like nothing like it. I was like, what is like? It was like, oh no, like my mind was blown. I was like, this is dope. Like, I'm a fighter now and stuff like that. So it was cool, bro. Definitely.
Okay. Did you ever struggle with consistency, kind of when you first started, or like, did you love it so much that you came to the gym a lot?
Yeah, I was at the gym. I would stay for like 3 classes. Like I would stay.
Oh,
like
really?
After I left the kickboxing, I went to IMA. They're not around no more, but I would stay for like 3 classes, like 3 hours, and I would just like wake up in between each class, just like because I just loved it so much.
Gotcha. So, and have you never really worked and stuff like that, or did you ever have a job in between all of this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I got my first job when I was in high school. I was a junior in high school, so my parents were still kind of struggling. They paid for those little gyms when they could, so they were able to help me out, but it was all temporary. So I stopped going to IMA, and then as I got into high school, I started wrestling because I was like, that's perfect. It's free. My parents don't have to pay for it. So it's at the high school. So I started wrestling in high school my freshman year. So that was pretty cool. And then junior year, I got a job. Junior year, I got a job on the weekends, and I started going to like a boxing gym called Dreamland Boxing here in San Jose. Super dope gym. That's where I really got good because I was sparring with like amateur boxers, pro boxers. I was like, it was like the real deal. I had a couple amateur boxing fights, so that was like my junior year. So I had to get a job, and I started paying for that myself because like my parents it was hard for them. So yeah, so I just had to make it work. Yeah.
What did your parents do for work, and then what was the first job you got?
Yeah, my dad was actually a restaurant manager. He worked at a restaurant called Tomato Time. So he was a restaurant manager there for like probably like 15 years. It was like a long time. Like my dad was like the coolest dad. Like I thought my dad was so cool. I was like, damn, like everybody knew my dad, like, because he was like the manager of the restaurant, like right here in San Jose. So that was pretty cool. Like I kind of grew up in that environment. He'd always bring us home like pizza and stuff. So that was really cool. And then my mom works at she worked at an elementary school, like helping special ed kids. So she was doing that for a long time too. And she used to actually work at the restaurant with my dad as well. They used to work together at the restaurant, and she left that.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, those are two jobs where it takes time away from the family a little bit. So I hear you a little bit there, probably grinding just to make the ends meet for you guys.
Yes. Oh yeah, I'll
Because
definitely.
it's not like where you get off at like, or maybe the school job was like a 3 p.m. job where your mom got off, but I'm sure your dad has to work nights and stuff like that, holidays.
Yep,
Yeah.
he'd come home like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, sometimes midnight. And he was a manager, so he's doing like inventory and dealing with a bunch of stuff all the time, like working
Yeah, I
6
feel
days a
that.
week. Yeah, so it's
Um,
rough.
And then is your dad still around and your mom still around?
Yeah, they actually, both of them are actually, they both work at Stanford Hospital right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
So they kind of like upgraded.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely, because they weren't getting any benefits and stuff, and like restaurant and like the school, it was kind of just like, just stuff like that, like they had problems with like where they were working, so they actually both work together at Stanford Hospital, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
That's tight.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what did your first job, did you work at a boxing gym? Is that what you were saying, or did you work somewhere else?
That was later on. Yeah, that was later on. I actually worked at I worked at a restaurant. I was a busser. That was my first job. I was 16. Got a
Okay.
job at a restaurant as a busser on the weekends, like Saturday and Sunday. So that was my first job. And I would like go to school. I would like run during the week, go to school, go to the boxing gym that I was paying for. And then it was crazy. I don't even know how I did it, bro. I was going to the boxing gym and I was also doing jiu-jitsu. So I'd have my parents drive me to the boxing gym. Practice was from 4 to 6. I'd have them pick me up during the week and I'd have them take me to the jiu-jitsu gym, and class started at 6:30. So I would do boxing 2 hours. Yeah, I would do a box 2 hours at the gym that I was paying for, and then I would have them drive me to the jiu-jitsu gym. It was like kind of close by. So I was training like, I don't know, I was doing that like, I don't know when I was like junior, senior year. I was doing that for like 2 years, I think. Yeah, I would have them like pick me up and take me. I'd be like, please, like, can you please like do this? Like. So they would help me out. Yeah, they made that sacrifice. So I definitely like appreciate them for doing that, because they were driving me around all over the place, wasting gas all the time. So yeah.
And you need that. You need a support system. MMA is a hard thing to do by yourself, or martial
Yeah.
arts in general, like you need some
Yeah.
type of support along the way. So when you were doing that, going back and forth between the gyms, was that just out of passion, or because at some point in MMA you realize, right, that like you got to be consistent. So like, was this all from passion, or you were like, as a junior, you thought you were going to be a fighter and you're training to become a pro fighter one day?
Oh yeah, I knew I always wanted to fight like as a career. Like,
Okay.
I never wanted to do anything else. Like since like 7th, 8th grade, I knew I was like, I want to be in the UFC one day. Like I want to make this my career. So I had always known. So like, yeah, I was always like running when my parents couldn't afford. There was a couple periods where I couldn't train because I couldn't go to a gym. So I'd be running. I would be like working out, hitting push-ups. I started wrestling in high school, so that was actually really good. I ran cross country also, so I did cross country. And the cross country season ended, and I started wrestling right after that because wrestling was a winter sport. So I was doing that. So yeah, I was just staying busy the whole time. Yeah, I always knew I wanted to fight. Yeah, it's always been on my mind. Yeah.
Why? Because 7th grade, I mean, just from my own personal experience, like 7th grade, I wasn't really thinking about like a career, unfortunately. But why do you think you were kind of already up at that kind of like maturity level?
Dude, I don't honestly. That's a good question. I don't even know, brother. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't know. Like I had always like I wanted to play basketball. Like I would like dream. I had like a little hoop attached to the door, and I would like shoot like basketball when I was younger. Like. So I'd be like jumping around the house, like shooting into my little basketball hoop. But like I don't know. I always knew I didn't want to live a normal life. Like I always knew like I didn't want to have a normal job. I just always knew that, and I always had like a dream that I would do something big one day. So I don't know why, but like as soon as I started watching, I got into MMA. I was like, this is it. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like this is what I want to do.
You know what I
Like,
mean though?
yeah.
Because even people with
Yes.
MMA, like they'll look at the money aspect sometimes and be like, like I don't know if it's really the juice is worth the squeeze, But like, so you just were always like, nah, I don't really care. Like this is like what I want to do with my life, regardless of
Yeah,
even
I mean,
like
don't get me.
the money.
Yeah, no, yeah. Don't get me wrong though. There was times where it hasn't always been like that. Like, there's been times where I wanted to quit, and there's been times like I'm
Okay.
done. Like I'm done. Like,
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah, definitely. Yeah. There hasn't been. Yeah, it hasn't been like a perfect, like easy, just like. Yeah, there's been moments where I've lost competitions, I've lost jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I've gotten discouraged. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I should go to school. And actually, after high school, I did go to school. I went to a semester of community college, and then I dropped out. I was like, I can't do this. So like, yeah, there's been times where I was like, like maybe I should just like get a job. Like, that was more later after high school when I was like, what should I do? Like, what should I do in my life? Should I keep doing this, or should I go to school? Get a job and like, try to like do a career something else. But yeah, there's been times where I've kind of been like, maybe this isn't for me. But I've always come back to it, bro. Like I've always come back to it. I've tried to like not do this, and like I just can't. I just can't, bro. Like I keep thinking about it, and I'm like if I'm not doing this, I'm like I have to train. Like I don't know what else to do. I don't know. It's like weird. Yeah, it's like weird.
You're like
but
institutionalized with fighting. You've been in
yeah,
it for
bro.
so long,
I've
you
tried to
can't get
stop.
out of it. Yeah.
Bro, I've tried to quit, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've tried to be like, you know, like maybe this isn't for me, but I just, my mind is still on it all the time. I just like it, and I'm always like watching videos, and I'm always just, yeah. I just think
Yeah.
it's for me.
What's dope is that you started early, and I even got like, there's a post I made a while back. It's like pinned on Perry Punch right now. But I was talking to Impa Kasanganai, and he told me like he started training MMA at like 24, which is kind of old, right, in this sport.
Yeah.
But the fact that you started when you're like 11, 12, bro, you have so much like experience on people who even started like 18, you know? So that's probably why you keep going back. Cause if I were you, I'd realize like, you know, I got like an advantage over these guys, like 5 years, 6 years experience.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy is when I had started training at like 12, 13, like when I started, it was like around 12. But when I started doing that, I felt like I was behind. Bro, I was like,
Oh,
there's
really?
kids already. Yeah, dude, I remember. That's why I was crying, and that's why I would feel sad, because I'd be like, damn, there's kids already training that are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm like 12 and I haven't even started training. So that would make me sad. I'd feel like anxious. I'd be like, I'm behind. I got to catch up. So like I never really felt that way. I've always felt like I was behind, and I still do. It's crazy. I still have that feeling like there's people better than me. Like I need to train. I need to get better. Like that's weird. Like I still have that feeling in me. Yeah, it's weird. But yeah,
that's good because it probably like makes you work harder.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing, you know. But I still feel that way, which is like, yeah, it's a good thing, probably, like you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, even though you don't realize it yourself, take it from like an outside perspective. I totally see like the fighters who start way earlier, they have such an advantage, man. Even like mentally, just knowing like you're almost like you've been built for this. You've been doing it your whole life. A lot of guys, because I think about it like this, you wrestled, right, in high school. So, you know, like before you were like 18, you had hundreds of matches probably, you know?
No, not even that many. I had a few.
Oh, really?
I had a few, probably not hundreds. Yeah.
Not hundreds. Yeah, you're right.
Probably a few, yeah. But yeah, like
but you know, you have a lot.
School. Yeah,
you have like a lot of experience, and then like these people who start when they're 18, they never competed.
Yep.
You know, so that's what I'm saying. Like you got it out of the way early on, and then it kind of helps you out.
Yeah, I remember losing my first couple of wrestling matches in high school, and I was like, that's where I was crying, bro. I would be crying because I would lose. There'd be kids already wrestling. They were already good at wrestling, and I'd go out there in these tournaments, bro, and I'd get fucking pinned, and I'd be like devastated. I'd be like how am I gonna make to the UFC one day and I can't even win this like wrestling match? Like I'd be crying, I'd be sad, and I'd be like, man, I'm done. Like, nah, fuck this. But I would still just come back to it. I'd still be in the practice room, and I'll still be training. But like, yeah, I'd be like sad all the time. I was like, yeah, kind of depressing.
Yeah, and then you take someone like who's 19, 20 that they experienced that for the first time, then they're like, I'm gonna go work a 9 to 5. Fuck this. So that's the point. Yeah, like full circle.
Yep. No, exactly, bro.
Yeah.
And now, now I've lost matches, like jiu-jitsu matches, like when I go compete in jiu-jitsu tournaments, I was like, bro, no big deal. It's like literally nothing. Like literally no problem. So yeah, it's good. It's good that I got that out of the way early. Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you have your first pro fight? Were you like 20 or something like that?
First fight I had, I was in high school. It was a boxing match. I believe I was a senior in high school. I believe I was 16. I was a senior in high school. It was my first boxing fight that I had. I actually lost it. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, bro. My parents were there. It was in Oakland. My mom and dad were there, and some girl, my girlfriend at the time, was there. And it was fight of the night, but still, I lost it. And bro, I was devastated. I was crying. I was like, again, at one of those moments, I was like, what am I like? Why am I even doing this? Like, I can't even fucking win this boxing match. So it was like, that was pretty sad, but I'm glad I'm glad I went through that. Like that like lit a fire into me for sure. But yeah.
So how many boxing matches you got?
I only have 4. I'm 3-1.
4. 3-1 in boxing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when did you have your first? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, 3-1 in boxing, and I'm 3-1 in kickboxing too. So I got some kickboxing matches, and I had all those before my first MMA fight. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's why you got those hands in MMA, because I see you loose with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty relaxed. I look pretty relaxed. I feel pretty relaxed.
You look pretty relaxed.
Yeah. But I think it's those couple fights definitely helped out. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. So then once you kind of like the boxing and kickboxing, was that in preparation for MMA?
Yeah, I always knew. I always knew. So I wrestled in high school. I started jiu-jitsu. I was like boxing because I always knew. I was like, let me like get good at all these disciplines, and then eventually one day I'm gonna fight MMA. So I was wrestling in high school. Junior year when I got the job, I was doing jiu-jitsu because I was able to pay for it. So I did jiu-jitsu when I started going to the boxing gym. So, but a junior year, once I was doing boxing and jiu-jitsu, I stopped wrestling. So I only wrestled for 2 years in high school. So I wrestled 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, and then junior year I started boxing and jiu-jitsu. And then yeah. So I already kind of had a good base by the time I was like 18, 19. I already had like a good like understanding of like all the disciplines kind of.
Yeah, that's dope. And then once you got over to AKA, like, have your skills kind of like, have you solidified your skills there in a way? Like, is that confirmation? Like, do you do well in AKA to the point where you're like, yeah, damn, my skills are pretty good?
Yeah, I've been at it's coming up on a year. I've actually been at AKA. It's coming up on a year. I think it's maybe I think it just hit a year. But when I first got to AKA and like did like MMA sparring, like I was not doing too good.
Oh,
I
really?
showed flashes of like I showed flashes that I showed the coaches that I could be good and I had like potential. But putting it together for the first time like that, hard sparring was kind of different. But yeah, now I'm just getting smoother. Yeah, like now I feel way smoother for sure. But yeah, at first it was like rough too. Like I was getting like beat up in sparring, getting my leg kicked because I was too heavy on my lead leg. Because I was more of like a boxer. So like I was getting kicked a lot. So I was able to kind of fix that and work through that. But yeah, now it's going better.
Okay, so some small learning lessons in AKA.
Oh yeah, all the time, especially with such high level people, bro. Like yeah. There's no way like you're not always gonna be like winning all those sparrings and stuff. Like so yeah. Even now, some days I fucking get like cracked pretty good, so it's nice.
Okay, and what was your amateur record once you joined AKA?
Just my boxing, kickboxing. So 6-2 basically.
Oh, so you didn't have any MMA before you joined AKA?
Correct. So my first MMA fight was in April of last year. Yeah.
Okay.
April last year, yeah.
So now you kind of been on the path of starting an MMA career, starting in the amateurs, 5-1. How's it been so far? How are you enjoying it?
It's been going good, bro. It's crazy how all this has happened. Like it hasn't even been a year since my first MMA fight, and I've already have 6 fights in like less than a year. It's only been like 9-10 months since my first MMA fight. So I've already racked up 6 fights. I have another one in a couple weeks coming up, so it's gonna be 7 fights in under a year. So I've been staying pretty busy, and I've been staying pretty busy trying to keep this momentum going. 5-1. It's gonna be my 7th fight in a couple weeks coming up. I'm fighting for another title. So yeah,
lightweight or
featherweight? Yeah, 45. Yeah.
Oh, so because you're already the featherweight champ, right? At Lights Out.
Lights Out. Yeah, I'm fighting for the SF Combat featherweight title. Yeah. Okay. So it's another pro. It's in Napa. It's up here in NorCal. But yeah, it's gonna be for the featherweight title. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know the date?
February 10th. Yep. February 10th.
February 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Bet, bro. And so let's just kind of talk about some of the stuff that people probably want to hear about too. Sounds like you found God.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah, it was crazy. Like, my last fight actually in October is kind of where like my life kind of changed. But a lot of people don't know, except in my circle. But in my last fight in October, when I won the Lights Out title, I actually fought with staph. I had staph on my elbow, like really bad. So I was going through a lot of pain, going through that. And I pretty much backstage during that fight, I was kind of like, God, like I got backstage to the place, right? And now we're just waiting. Now it's like the waiting game. Wait to get your hands wrapped, do that. So during that time when I first got there, I was kind of just like praying, and I was like, God, like I don't care if I win this fight. I don't care if I win or lose. I just want to make it back home safe. That was kind of, I remember one of the things I was like thinking during the whole time. And I just asked God basically to forgive me of like all my sins that I've done, all the times I turned my back on him. And like, bro, it was crazy because I started crying. Like, I don't know if my coach, who was with me saw it, but like, dude, I started crying, bro. Like, I literally felt forgiven in that moment because I was like genuinely sorry. I was like, sorry. It was literally like confession. Like I confessed backstage to God, just in my head, in my heart. And I was like, please, like, just forgive me for everything I've done wrong. I don't care if I win. I don't care if I lose. I just want to make it back home safe. Like, that's literally what was going through my mind. And I was just asking God to forgive me for like everything I've done wrong, all the time, turn my back on him. Bro, I started crying. Like I started crying. I felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I felt like a weight off my shoulders. And from that moment, I didn't care about what happened in the fight. I was like, I don't care. Like, cause I know I'm gonna be okay. And then from there, I felt so free. And I was like, it doesn't matter what's going to happen in the fight because I'm home to be all right. So, like, yeah, that was a crazy experience. And from there, after that fight, I got back home and I was like, okay, I have to start changing my life around. So it actually happened in October. My last fight, that's what kind of when I had that experience. And I was like, from there, it's been changing my ways.
Yeah, I feel you. We've all been there, though. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you grow up religious, my dad was really religious growing up, and my mom too. So like when I was younger, stuff I do the same thing, be like praying, like, oh man, I might have messed up here, but there's something I really want to go my way next week or today. So I'm sorry for like, my wrongdoings and stuff like that. But I'll give you credit because you seem to have stuck into it, and it's like changed your life. Like you said, you came home and you wanted to like make some changes. So after your last win, you said you got off the porn, got off the weed. Was that one of the big ones? We all struggle with it. We all struggle with it 100%. So no, you're no less than anyone else, but that was part of the struggle, or how did that all come about?
Yeah, no, that was definitely the main thing. Is like, especially like the weed. I was smoking weed every day before training, after training, and like since I've stopped that, like my sessions, my sparring, every session that I have at AK, it's gone through the roof, bro. Like I'm more focused, I'm a lot more present. I wake up energized, I'm like ready to train. But like, yeah, the weed part was definitely a big one for me for sure. Because I was smoking weed all the time in the mornings, like before training, after training, at night.
I'm probably where you were back then, right now. So just so you know.
No, yeah, I think a lot of people are, especially because it's like the community of fighters, and like everybody kind of does it. Like there's people around me. There was people around me that were doing it all the time, but I kind of distanced myself from certain people, and that kind of helped out a lot too. Because there's a lot of people in my circle that were doing it, but not so much anymore. So yeah, that definitely changed a lot too. And the porn too. I mean, like we're guys, bro. Like like you said, like especially a lot of young men, maybe just men in general, like we struggle with that, like lust and like lusting after women and stuff like that. So for me to be able to kind of like, it's still a battle, but for me to be able to overcome that, it's been like a big like change in my life too, and like learning to like not think that way. Maybe it's more of like a heart thing, not to feel it inside of my heart. Be able to look at a girl and just kind of think nothing. Oh, she's beautiful, and like that's it.
Yeah, you think it kind of like the porn kind of like hypersexualizes our thoughts a little bit? I mean, I could think that sometimes for sure.
No, yeah, I think like I had a relationship, and I feel like that was probably the reason why it didn't work out for me. Like, at least from my end, I was like, it kind of like ruined that. But I think it was like my habits, the smoking weed, the porn. Like I wasn't really present, bro. Like I wasn't present in my relationship. I wasn't present in my training. I wasn't really present. I was just kind of like on autopilot, and I was just going through life like numb and like not feeling things. So as soon as I kind of got off that and I was able to kind of put that down, I've started feeling God's grace more every day, bro. I wake up, I read my Bible, like for like I don't know how long, like sometimes 30 minutes or so, sometimes a little more. But yeah, dude, I wake up and I feed my spirit, and then I'm just ready to go train, have my coffee, and I'm just fucking good to go. But yeah, it's good.
That's dope. And then, I mean, with the relationship a little bit, do you think it like you got over your girlfriend or something like that? You think it's because you're watching porn, or that's just a guess, but what happened, like, as far as how do you think it affected it?
I think we just grew apart too. We were together for a long time, but I think we just like kind of grew apart. And I think for me, like, I always think like I could have done something different to kind of like make it work. But I mean, stuff happens for a reason. I think what's crazy is that after, I prayed to God. I actually had prayed before, like a couple weeks before, and then I it was like a week before. It was like maybe 2 weeks. I think it was like a week before I started. I tried to I prayed to God one day, just like randomly, and then I got dumped like the week after, bro. It was crazy. I get dumped the week after, and in the moment I was so sad and heartbroken. But later, I realized maybe that was God answering my prayers. Like, maybe that was kind of God answering my prayers, and he was kind of pushing me to be the person that he wants me to be. But it was weird because I prayed to God one day, and then I was like, hey, forgot what I said, but I was like, I kind of don't want to live this way anymore. Like, kind of like I want you to like kind of guide my steps, like guide my paths. This was before my first amateur fight, bro. So it was crazy. Like I prayed one day, I got dumped, and I was like sad. I didn't train for a couple of days, and like 3 weeks later, bro, I had to have my first MMA fight like in April when I debuted. So I literally got dumped before like my first MMA fight. So I was like, I didn't train for a couple of days because I was like sad, I was like down. But yeah, and it was crazy. And from there, it's just pretty much took off, and I've just been fighting all the time. But the point I want people to like know is that it hasn't been perfect, bro. Like I've said like I want to change. I've told God I want to change, and I still go back to my ways, bro. So even after I had that experience and I get dumped, bro, I still was like stuck doing what I was doing. I still wasn't ready to let go, bro. That's what I want people to know. I still wasn't ready to let go. I was still smoking weed, and I was still watching porn. Even after I had asked God to help me, I still didn't want to let go of the ways of the world, bro. So it wasn't until October that's when I had that experience, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I told God I'm sorry. Like I know your word and I still go against it. I was like, please forgive me, like, please. So from there, it's kind of changed. But like, yeah, it's been crazy, bro.
Yeah, that's why I gave you credit earlier too, because I was even like admitting about myself. We've all been there where like, you know, if you grow up a little bit religious, I'm sure you pray to God at some point in your life being like, sorry for my
Yeah,
wrongdoings because I want this. Like if you have a job, right? You're like applying for a
exactly.
job. It's like, I'm sorry, Lord, I'm sorry I've been smoking weed for the past month. I won't smoke weed for a month if I can get this job. Like, and then you go right back to it, you know? So
Bro, that's
that's
how
what
I
I'm saying.
was.
Props for sure.
No, yeah, definitely. And I think that like, yeah, no, you're totally right. I think everybody does
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I think what I was gonna say, but yeah, no, you're exactly right, bro. Once I let go, it definitely changed my life for sure. Once I was like, I had to just let everything go and be like, okay, take my life, like here, I can't do this anymore. So that was in October. But you have those slumps where it's like you feel inspired and then it kind of just goes away. But yeah, so it's important to kind of just keep that momentum going. But yeah.
Yeah. And with that being said, I mean, have you been 100% able to like stay off the porn and weed, or like since October, have you been like relapsed at all, if you will?
Since October, I think only like maybe like 2 or 3 times since October. Probably like the last 6 7 weeks I've been going strong. But I think October, even after that, bro, even after in October, I think I smoked it like maybe a couple times after October. But then I was like, but I started feeling guilty though. I was doing it and I was doing those things still, and I started feeling guilty. Like I started feeling like really bad, and I was like, yeah, like this isn't good no more. Like I started feeling really guilty. So that's when I was like, yeah, I had to like let this go, or else God's not gonna be with me. Like you can't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just can't do it. You can't say you love God and like still love the ways of the world. You have to choose. It says in the Bible, like you can't have two masters. You have to decide. So yeah.
You gotta stick to your word, even if somebody's not religious, you know, and they're listening to this. The point is, you know, when you say something, you can't, you know, you make a promise, you got to keep your promise in a way, or do your best to kind of fulfill it. You can't just like be all willy nilly with your thoughts and actions in this world. I feel like.
No, yeah, definitely. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stay true to yourself. And yeah, even if you don't believe in God, it's like you know, I still think not watching porn and not smoking weed have huge benefits. Even if you're not religious, you know, even if you don't believe in God, like there's still huge benefits to like to having that discipline, that self control for sure. Yeah.
I'll even admit though, I struggle. I feel like I got some type of anxiety, and I probably think it's from smoking weed a little bit. I mean, did you ever have anxiety, and have you felt like it's surpassed a little bit since you stopped smoking weed?
Bro, I was so depressed. I think for the longest time, I was angry all the time, bro. I was
Yeah.
angry. I would go to training angry. I was just mad all the time, mad at the world, mad at myself. I was like, no, for sure, bro. For sure. I was anxious, for sure. I think it was the weed and just all the things I was doing. But yeah, for sure. I think it was a culmination of all that, maybe not just the weed. But yeah, it was the stuff I was doing for sure. I felt anxious. I was depressed, bro. Like, and like, I think that's the reason why, like, like I said, I got dumped in the relationship, and I was going through all that, bro. It was hard. It was a hard time, like just last year, bro. That was like probably one of the hardest years, but it was also one of the best years because I started fighting in MMA, which had been my dream for so long. So it was kind of like a little bit of both, bro. I was like depressed, anxious. I was fighting at the same time, so I was getting the highs of fighting, but I also felt like super low. I was sad. I was depressed. I was crying. I would go fight, and I would like after the fight, I'd come home and I would just be crying. I would just be mad still, bro. I'd be like mad. So it was like a dark times, bro. Really dark times, but yeah, I kind of found my way out of that. But yeah, no, for sure, it was like the weed.
And you
Probably
think
the least.
so you think stopping smoking seemed to make it like more clear for you to like be more emotionally stable in a way?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. And like, don't get me wrong. I think there's benefits to smoking weed. Like, I think like you know, I like it helped me sleep a lot of times. Like, I would smoke weed and I had like great sleep. There's times where I would smoke weed and I would go train, and like I'd have a good training session, you know. But I would kind of tell myself like, oh, like only do it like on the weekends, or I'm only gonna do it at night. But I would just end up doing it every day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I would tell myself like, oh, only this time, but I would just do it all the time, bro.
Yeah, I feel that. If I were to analyze it too, because like you're saying, there are good things about weed. But I think part of my issue is like I started too young, and I hear that like once you're like if you start once your brain is more developed when you're like 18 or 20, it's easier to kind of like maneuver the two, you know, like being sober and then smoking weed. But I hear that when you start when you're pretty young, it like you kind of rely on it as your personality more. So it kind of affects like you almost have like imposter syndrome. Just speaking for my own self, I'm not speaking for you. But when
Yeah.
did you kind of start smoking weed?
I started after high school, actually. I started when I was 18,
Okay.
like 18,
Okay, yeah,
19.
so you're more developed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I was still like, yeah, I mean, you could say that, but I was still doing it. I still kind of fell into that, and I was doing it all the time. When I started smoking, and I started doing it like all the time. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, like, you know. So I kind of, and the people I was with, they were doing it, so like I was kind of just doing it every day after training, and eventually when I turned like 21, because you got to be like 21 in California, right, to like go to the cannabis store. So after I turned 21, that's when they really picked up. But before that, I was just doing it when other people had it because I couldn't buy it.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
So it's just, yeah. So I was just kind of doing it where if it was around, and every day we would train and people would have it. So I was doing it every day pretty much. But when I turned 21, that's when I started like buying my own pipes or my own wax pens and stuff like that. Like after I turned 21, and then yeah, I think like when does the brain stop developing? Like 25, right? Something like that.
Yeah, maybe you would have been better off if you started like 21 or something like that, 25.
Maybe
yeah.
something like that. But I'm like, I'm 24 now, so I'm like, I still got like a year left. So I'm like, I'm gonna save these brain cells, bro. I still got
Yeah, I
I
feel
got a
that.
good year left, bro.
I say that though because it seems like Sean O'Malley has a good relationship with the Kush. Like he doesn't have a hard time quitting and stuff for fights and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I feel like it might be because he started in his like 20s or something.
I think so. Yeah, I think he started later. I heard interviews where he started later. I mean, good for him because I think on his pod he said he stops like 3 weeks before a fight. I believe.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's almost like a month before the fight. You could just kind of quit and like, not do it. So that's pretty dope. I mean, props to him. But for me, it was kind of hard for me to like kind of just stop. So I was doing it all the time. So, but yeah, good for him.
Facts.
That's pretty dope though. Yeah, just
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Last thing on this topic, just because it's like on my mind a little bit. What was I gonna say to you?
No, yeah, bro.
Oh, yeah,
Go for it. Shoot, bro.
You ever still jerk it without the porn or what? Or is that still like a no go?
I haven't in a couple weeks. Nah, that's a no. I try not to do that. Cause like that's dude. I was thinking about that the other day because I was like, porn is like a sin, right? Or like, but the Bible doesn't specifically talk about like masturbating, but what it does talk about is like lust. And if you commit it in your heart, you might as well would have done it because you already committed in your heart, right? So like that's what the Bible says. So it doesn't specifically speak on like masturbating, but it says like lust is a sin, right? So for me, like masturbating is linked with like the thoughts, right? Like thoughts, like you think those thoughts. So you're pretty much committing it in your heart. So I try not. I'm probably gonna slip up eventually, but I've been going strong for the last like probably 6-7 weeks. I've been going good. Almost like 2 months. I haven't done it. Yeah. I'm going strong, but I mean, maybe one day, like, I mean, I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like,
no, yeah, 100%. I'm not putting that pressure on you either. I wouldn't judge you if you went back.
No, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
my brother was telling me. He's like, like people are gonna look at you differently now, and you gotta like hold yourself to that standard. But I'm like, dude, I'm just a person at the same time too. Like I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? So I don't plan on it, but like, it's probably gonna happen like at some point. You know what I'm saying, in the future.
Yeah. It's like you'll be like I know what you're saying because there'd be like a hot girl you think about. So that's what you're saying. You'd be like taking her clothes off in your mind, which isn't good. It's like still lustful.
Exactly. Still still lustful, and you're committing it in your heart, basically. So there's no difference between like me actually doing it or me actually watching porn because I'm already doing it in my heart. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you gotta protect the heart for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to wrap it up by asking about like kind of like what's next after this. But one other thing is what about like having sex with a girl?
I haven't since my last relationship.
Oh, you
haven't.
Okay.
Nope, I haven't.
So you just kind of staying away from the women right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think I think so. I haven't really met a girl yet, but like, if I meet a girl, like we'll see how it goes. But since my last relationship, I haven't actually been training every day, twice a day, been fighting. It's been going good. But like I feel like sex takes a lot out of you, bro. Like when I was doing that, when I was like having sex like constantly, bro, like you want to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like at least for me, it's like you have sex and it's like you do that, and I would like smoke weed too on top of that. So it's like, bro, like when you're doing these things, it's like it's just taking away so much, bro. Like I wouldn't want to fight. I wouldn't want to go. Like you would do that, and it's like, man, like why do I want to fight? Like I got everything I need. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like
facts.
That's kind of how I felt. But it takes a lot out of you, I think. Like so, like I think for me right now, the best thing is not to do that. But if I meet a girl that I really like and like it's cool, then like maybe. But like right now, no, I haven't done that at all. It's been like almost a year. Yeah.
I think it's actually becoming more of a popular topic. Like people are being more vocal about like guys, are being more vocal about like chasing the puss is not like conducive to like a productive life. Like achieving your dreams. Like it's gonna get in the way of it every time.
You could spend a lifetime chasing girls, bro. You could literally spend a lifetime.
Yeah,
but it's
you can.
You could spend a lifetime. It's never ending, bro. Like it's literally never ending. Like you could always meet a new girl and like just do that, but it's like I only got a certain amount of time to like achieve like this dream of being like a UFC fighter. Like I'm on a time clock. You can't do it when you're like 50 or 60 or whatever, like 40s. Like you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like right now the best thing is to max optimize like this training, like my youth and all that stuff. Put it all into fighting. And if I meet someone along the way, hopefully I do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying like I don't want to meet nobody, but like hopefully one day I will. Maybe I already met her. Who knows? But like that time will come. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But like it's definitely becoming a big topic. Like guys, like can't do that.
You've been hearing that too, right? They're like, dude, it's not even worth your time
yeah.
to go out to the bar like every weekend and shit.
Yeah, no, yeah. I don't think so. I don't even do that. I don't even like going out anyway. So like, it's been kind of easy for me to like stay away from that. Cause I fucking hate going out. I hate going out. I'm always just training. And, like, every time I do go out, I'm always like, I'm anxious, bro. Cause I'm like, I gotta train the next day. I gotta get sleep. I gotta make sure I drink water.
Dude.
All these things are on my mind. Like I have to drink enough water. I gotta make sure I get sleep. Like all this stuff I think about if I do. I think the last time I went out was like in October. Went to like a birthday party. It was
yeah,
after
but it's
the
even
fight.
hard because you're locked in. I feel that.
Yeah, bro, exactly.
Yeah.
You go out and you're just thinking about the fight the whole time. And I'm just like, fuck, I should be doing something else. And it's like, it's hard to just enjoy my life sometimes because I'm always thinking about like fighting. It's hard, but I need to find a way to like kind of balance that. But yeah.
No, I know what you mean, dude. Because I don't really train anymore, but I was competing in jiu-jitsu for a while after high school, and once I kind of stopped competing, that burden has kind of gone off in my mind a little bit. But yeah, dude, it's hard, huh? Because you're always thinking about fighting. You're always like comparing yourself to other men. It makes it a little hard sometimes.
No, definitely. You always kind of feel that. I kind of like that though. It keeps me on edge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I kind of keeps me it keeps me going at the same time. Do you ever miss it? Do you ever like miss competing?
Yeah, I do. I think
I bet you do.
Yeah, once I start making some money off of this, which I'm kind of close to, probably within like the next few months or so, then I'm gonna start training again. Yeah, but I live on my own right now, so I gotta like be careful with my finances, So I don't even have enough to go train right now.
Bro, I hear you. Even me too. Like I live with my older brother. Like I don't live with my parents, so it's like, dude, like I still gotta pay rent. So I'm trying to figure out paying rent and like training. Like it's hard out here, especially in California. It's like everything is so expensive. Well, like dude, I totally get you, bro. It's rough out here.
Yeah. By the way, I'm in OC, so not too far from you, I guess. I mean, it's like a 5-6 hour drive. Orange County.
Oh yeah. Orange
like
County.
LA,
Okay. Oh fuck.
LA area.
LA area. Oh, that's sick. Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably pricey out there. Probably more pricey. Probably more expensive there, bro. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's like for a 1-bedroom, it's like over a couple grand.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to here. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. I don't even know how we do it, bro. I don't even know how we did it. Like if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't even know what I'd be doing. But yeah, luckily he makes a little more than me, so he kind of like pays a little more of the rent, and I pay my part. But yeah, if it wasn't for Andrew, I don't even know where I'd be living.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, you need roommates because it's hard to be by yourself. So if you have roommates to split the bills, that kind of helps you out.
Yeah, but then you gotta live with like random people, and you gotta deal with like you gotta deal with their bullshit and like what they do if they're loud and shit. It's like fuck.
So at least you got your brother.
Yeah, no, exactly. At least I got him. So
it's
cool. That's pretty chill.
Okay, so just to kind of wrap it all up, then 5-1. You're impressive, bro. You got some swagger to you. I wanted to ask you about that too before we talk about when you're going to turn pro.
Yeah.
Where do you think you get your swagger from? Basketball, or where do you think you get it from?
Bro, you read my mind. I was gonna say that because like I used to like when I was on the basketball court, same thing. I'd always when I was like a kid growing up in elementary, I would be playing basketball, and I'd always kind of like play differently, for sure. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I always pictured myself when I pictured myself fighting. I always pictured myself like that, like just like hands down. Sometimes maybe head movement, like, and I don't do it to like be cocky or nothing, or like it's kind of just how I fight. It's just my fighting style. But I don't know where that comes from. But I do know that I always pictured myself fighting like that, like with that swag, with that edge, with that like confidence. I always pictured myself fighting like that when I was like younger. When I was like 12, 13, I was like that's the type of fighter I want to be, because like there's types of fighters that people like that there's different fighting styles people have, like hands up or coming forward. But I always kind of pictured myself as like, I don't know, maybe like a Izzy, kind of like a Sean O'Malley hybrid, like Izzy. Something like that with like kind of long, because I'm long and lengthy, I got long arms. I'm not, like,
Izzy
super,
takes
like,
advantage of that a lot.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I've been using some of his like leg kick feints all the time, dude. I started doing that shit. I seen him
Okay.
do that when he came in the UFC, and I started doing that. And I was like, bro, this is like so dope. Well, the leg kick feints and like the shoulder feints, like when you feint the jab, feint the kick, and boom, boom, 1-2, bro, money.
Yeah.
That shit works. It's money.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as when you're gonna turn pro and stuff like that, or I guess the goals for this year, what are your thoughts on that?
I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, so I have what? So I have 6 MMA fights. I got what? Eight boxing, kickboxing fights. So technically I got 14 amateur fights right now. Technically, 6 in MMA, and then if I count my 3-1 in boxing, 3-1 in kickboxing, I got 14. So I kind of have a good amount of experience. I kind of want to rack up. I don't know. Part of me wants to rack up like 10, 12 amateur MMA fights and then turn pro. Part of me wants to do that. Part of me just kind of wants to turn pro after this next fight coming up. So I don't know. We're just gonna take it one fight at a time. But I think like I think like, oh, like more amateur fights is better, but sometimes it's a fight, bro. It doesn't matter how many amateur fights you have. The guy could have less fights than you. You could go out there and fight him. You could get hit with something wild, not see it coming, and you get stopped. So like sometimes having more amateur fights doesn't mean that you're gonna be like the next like big thing. So I think I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about, but I should take it one fight at a time. See how this fight goes. But I definitely just want to keep fighting, stay active, maybe get back on the jiu-jitsu scene. I haven't competed in jiu-jitsu in a little bit, so maybe get back out, keep my grappling sharp for sure. And that's always the safe option, you know, do jiu-jitsu. So you could rack up a bunch of jiu-jitsu matches and not really get seriously hurt. But fighting is like obviously different. But I definitely want to get back on the jiu-jitsu scene this year, a few times. Yeah, I'm fighting for this title. Maybe I want to try to go down to 35 because I'm a small 45er. I only cut like 5 pounds to get to 45.
Really?
I cut like 5, 6. Yeah, I'm only like walking around like 151, 152. Cut like 6 pounds, sometimes 7 pounds to get to 45. So I'm a small 45er. So maybe going down 35 is going to be something that I'm going to do this year. Maybe try that out before I turn pro. Maybe try to at least do one fight at 35. See how I feel. I think I'll be big at that weight class. I'm 5'9", so I'll be long and lanky. So yeah, that's something I've been thinking about too. Maybe go down to 35. Maybe get another title before I turn pro at 35. So that's something that's been on my mind too. Yeah.
I actually like that a lot. The UFC's bantamweight division is fucking stacked. And bro, I think you'd fit in nicely there. Give yourself like, I don't know, a year or so, because you're still young. You're 24, which is nice for you too, because you have the leisure of choosing. Do I want to turn pro now? Do I want to wait and like get my skills a little better, turn pro in a year or so? Some people, they're like, fuck, I don't have time. I got to turn pro now. It is what it's going to be. So yeah, that's pretty tight on your behalf.
I was thinking about that. I've been thinking about that a lot. What you're saying is like, like how the game is, because Izzy, if you look at Izzy, he didn't debut to the UFC till he was like what, 28. He was like almost 30, and he had his first UFC fight. He was like 28 years old. I mean, he had a lot of kickboxing, but like he didn't get to the UFC till later. And there's people who get there super early, but then they kind of do a lot of learning on the job. They win, they lose, they win, they lose, they win a couple, and then they lose. So it's kind of like how you want to play it. Like when I get to the UFC, I want to be like ready to go, like ready to fight, like guys in the top 15, guys in the top 10. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I want to make sure I'm ready. I want to like, make sure I build, get into my strength real quick, get into my strength, build up a little more muscle, make sure I'm strong, because you're going to be fighting grown men. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I want to make sure that I kind of take my time. I don't want to do any learning on the job. I want to get to the UFC one day, or PFL, wherever the best opportunity is, because PFL's coming up and they're doing a lot of good stuff too. But UFC is obviously the goal. I mean, yeah, UFC is obviously the goal, but like, yeah, like wherever there's the opportunity. But yeah, I definitely want to make sure I'm ready. I don't want to do any learning on the job, so I want to make sure I'm ready to fight with like the best guys when I get there. So like, yeah, I'm 24 now, so maybe like by the time I'm 25, maybe 26, maybe I could debut in the UFC and like be fine. But I definitely don't want to rush it and like get hurt or nothing like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, because once you turn pro too, you still have about like a year and a half to 2 years before you start talking about getting signed to a major promotion anyway. So all that's just extra time for you to get better.
No, yeah, and I think to get on the Contender Series, what is it? How many fights do you have to have? Like 4 fights, right? At least like 4
something,
or 5 fights.
I think so. 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's not even that much, dude. I could do that in a year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's like nothing. You could be 4-5-0 in like a year, maybe a couple finishes, and get a shot on the Contender Series in like a year. So that's kind of how I'm not rushing it. I could turn pro when I'm like 25. I turn 25 this October, so I could turn pro in October. I'll be 25, and I could rack up like 4 or 5 pro fights and be in the UFC like before 26. I'll be like 25 years old, So I'm like, there's no need to like kind of rush it. But I'm gonna take it one fight at a time. So we'll see how this next fight goes. Hopefully, I'll win another title. That'll be 3 titles, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Okay, for sure, man. Well, I think that's a good place to stop then. And good luck with your fight coming up on February 10th, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. February 10th in Napa, SF Combat. Yep.
Okay, bet.
Hell yeah,
And
bro.
I was actually gonna say one other thing, which is like, especially with your style and stuff, your excitingness, like just even going viral in your last interview before you're even a pro, like with your kind of energy that you got, yeah, like 4 fights, I think you'll be getting some calls for sure.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
4 or
That'd
5
be cool.
fights. Yeah.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, that's the plan. That'd be cool. That's the goal. I mean, that'd be nice. Yeah, no, that'd be sick. And like with the whole interview thing, like I didn't even plan to say that. Like
I was gonna
knew
ask,
wanted
you
to thank-
didn't plan that?
Nah, like I knew I wanted
Yeah.
to thank God. Like I knew I wanted to thank God and say something about God and thank God. So I knew I wanted to say that, like thank you God, something like that. But I didn't think I was gonna say that like that much. And like people were saying like, oh, he said too much. Like I would have never said that. He said too much. But I'm like, it came from the heart. It was real. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't regret it. Like it just came out in that moment. But I did want to thank God, and I did want to say something about God. But I didn't think I was gonna like say all that. It just kind of came out. I was like hyped up, and I was like the mic was
Like,
in
this
my
is what I've been
face.
doing. I've been watching porn. I haven't smoked any weed for the last 3 months. Like,
Bro, exactly, bro.
yeah,
It just kind of came out. But I don't
You've been
regret
fighting
it, bro. I'm like,
demons for like the last 30, 60 days over here, so had to let it
bro,
out.
even bro, probably like more since
Yeah.
I got dumped, bro. I like
Right,
literally last year was-
October. Yeah.
yeah, since that, bro. Like, yeah, it's been a crazy last year, bro, and how fast like everything's happened, and yeah, it's gonna be my 7th fight in under a year. Like 7 fights, like that's pretty crazy. I think about
Yeah.
it, but yeah.
Well, I
Should I
think some
keep it
big
going?
things are coming for you, man. So I'm excited. I'll be watching your fight on February 10th. And I appreciate the time, Andrew. It was nice meeting you and chatting with you.
No, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for the platform, bro. I really appreciate it. Thank you, bro.